Hello and welcome back to another Respect Another edition of Smackdown Out of 10. And yeah, John Cena retained the WWE title against Randy Orton last weekend in what was billed as their final match together. So now we're looking for someone fresh to dethrone him. And we got much more, including a Bloodline feud, which could well be coming in. That's what we started the show off with. And we got a recap video from Backlash before Sikoa, Cobb and Jacob Fatu made their way to the ring. The Street Champ welcomed Cobb to the family. He credited Cobb for Fatu retaining the title, which angered the champ. He ripped the mic away from Sikoa and said he's done everything he would do. Things got tense when when Sikoa asked Fatu to tell him he loved him. Before it could progress any further, LA Knight's music hit. He appeared behind him and Cobb pulled him out of the ring for a quick attack before he retreated into the crowd with the rest of the group. A feud between Sikoa and Fatu has been brewing for months, and it looks like WWE's finally ready to commit. The segment was a little strange, but it did a good job establishing how fragile their relationship. The first match of the night was a triple threat qualifying bout for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match between Alexa Bliss, Michin and Chelsea Green. Michin hit a super kick to knock out Green of the ring so she and Bliss could square off. As soon as Green got back into the ring, they sent her right back out. The former US champ took them out with a suicide dive as we went for a break. The match was a lot more competitive during the break as all three women were getting more physical. Bliss and Michin were the crowd favourites, but Green was getting the desired response too. Other than one or two spots that didn't work, most of what they did was good. Unfortunately, never really had a lot of level of intensity. Green took out Michin and Unpretty before Bliss hit Sister Abigail for the win. The crowd popped for the finish, and I thought, right result. Maybe an average match could have been better. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Next match saw Fraser and Axiom take on the men who attacked them backstage last week. DIY. Ciampa wrestled Axiom to the mat, but the high flyer quickly nailed with a dropkick. Axiom tried a double team move, but Ciampa fell over and they had to improvise. DIY took control after Gargano tipped Axiom during a springboard attempt. Fraser got a hot tag as soon as we returned for a break. He went all over the place, hitting high-risk moves to both opponents. They placed up quite a bit of pace in the second half and turned for a good match to a great one. The crowd was chanting this is awesome as all four men worked their butts off. Axiom has quickly become one of the most exciting acts on SmackDown. This was a potential show stealer. Axiom ended up getting the pin by reversing a roll-up from Gargano, but their celebration was cut short by DIY. MCMG then came down to make the save and took out Gargano and Ciampa, helping Axiom to their feet. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This was another brilliant match in the SmackDown Tag Team division. I really feel like it's on fire at the moment. Fraxium, DIY, MCMG all in there. I think, we're in for potential for some banging matches. I'm really hyped by the direction, of course, with the profits there too. Great stuff. R-Truth then gave an interview with Wade Barrett talking about what Cena did to him at Backlash. He said he'll face Cena at Saturday night's main event. I'm really looking forward to that. And after a break, Aleister Black took on Hayes in a rematch from last week's show. Black scored the win in their first encounter, so Hayes had something to improve. They started to a relatively even exchange, but Melo had to duck a Black Mass to stay in the match. The Miz saved him from a moonsault at ringside by pushing Hayes out of the way. Once we returned from Brit, the Dutch Destroyer began building some momentum with a flurry of kicks. He even hit the moonsault for the Miz, prevented him from hitting before. Unfortunately, the Miz prevented a clean ending by interfering, but he ended up taking Black Mass. Hayes attacked Black and hit his finisher to leave him down in the ring. The match was great, but the ending left a lot to be desired. I'm going to give this match an 8 out of 10, finish 6 out of 10, put it in the middle, 7 out of 10. As the next match, before that though, we got Drew McIntyre coming to the ring and giving a promo about Dame Priest ahead of their steel cage match next week. He promised that one of them would leave on a stretcher and it wouldn't be him. Before the second Money in the Bank qualifier was Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso and Rey Fenix to earn a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Sikoa beat down Phoenix in the corner and told Jimmy they should work together to take him out. Jimmy decided to team up with Phoenix instead, and they sent Sikoa out of the ring. Once he recovers, Solo yanked Jimmy out of the ring and slammed his head onto the announce table. A solid match from three capable performers, but definitely felt predictable at almost every turn. All three guys had time to shine, but Sikoa was the most dominant of the three and got the win with smelling spikes to Phoenix to earn his spot in the ladder match. After the match was over, Knight showed up and attacked Mateo and Fatu. All this came out and said Mateo would face Knight in WWE in his WWE debut after the break. I'm going to give it, 6 out of 10. I know, it kind of felt like a weird match. Good for Solo Sikoa to get the win, but I just feel like something not quite clicking with LA Knight at the moment. The whole Bloodline stuff was intertwined here. Didn't really have the positive effect I'd hoped for. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. The former Jeff Cobb, now known as JC Mateo, had his first match against LA Knight following a couple of weeks of attacks from the Megastar. They got started when we returned from a break and JC showed off his power, tossing Knight around. Whenever it looked like Knight was going to take control, Mateo would take him down with a power move. It wasn't a one-sided match, but it was definitely lopsided. They fought for a break and JC was still in control when we returned. Knight made a comeback and took out Fatu and Sikoa with a crossbody springboard, but taking time to do that allowed JC to recover, and he hit Knight with his finisher as soon as he got back in the ring for the win. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I thought it was a decent first match, but there wasn't really a lot more to it. Just a good win for him. But yeah, kind of worried about the position LA Knight was putting here, to be honest. But in our main event, it was Tiffany Stratton putting the women's title on the line against Nia Jax. Stratton got in a few moves before Jax took over and began to dominate. She crushed Tiffy's head against the ring post as she went to a break. And the champ recovered and regained control shortly after a return. But after a pop-up Simone shot from Jax, stalled her momentum immediately. One out of nowhere, Naomi's music then hit and she walked into the ring with a chair in her hand. Cargill ran down and took her out, preventing her from interfering. Jax kicked out of the prettiest moonsault ever and pushed Tiffy to the floor. When she tried to hit a second, she hit a Samoan drop onto the table, which didn't break. Jax fell into Tiffany when she tried to counter the Annihilator, but the champ grabbed the rope to break the count. Jax grabbed Naomi's chair and tried to use it, but Tiffy drop kicked it into her face and then hit her moonsault for the win. The match had sloppy moments, but it had good enough stuff to make this an enjoyable encounter. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought, yeah, it's a decent enough match, probably a predictable outcome, but I thought for a main event it was pretty solid action. 6 out of 10. Overall, SmackDown gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Obviously, I had to balance fallout from Backlash while also juggling Saturday night main event and Money in the Bank. But I thought, there's an explosive feud going between the Bloodline. DIY v Fraction's interesting, and the Money in the Bank qualifiers were both pretty solid. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought
that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.